yes. Hold on one second. Eminem says he wants his haircut back. Sorry. Anyway, what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? This is AJ Capasso from Talking with the Source, host and founder. I'm here with my new co-host.
My name is Robin from Paranormal. I'm Talking with the Source.
There we go. We got it. Anyway, I'm sorry, guys. I had to start it that way. This guy's been bothering me all in background in front of our guests, so I had to think of something quick. So, it shocked him. He didn't know what was going on for a second. He probably thought emergency call.
You're just trying to be me now, aren't you? You really are.
I was. You're right. You got me. Well, anyway, first off, what I want to do is I just want to shout out right now. We are live on Parapost Network and also Parapost 2 International. So, super excited about that. We're also coming up to May's first event of Global Ghost Hunt. It's going to be absolutely awesome. There is no signups obviously left for May, but we still have October's left. October is going to be absolutely awesome with the whole, paranormal theme as it is because of, Halloween and everything going on. So please head over to www.globalghosthunt.com and sign up if you have a team or you're a researcher. We have locations that are already there signed up, so you can check out some locations. More will be coming soon. We have a great, vast amount of teams that are going to be for May. So get ready. We're going to be releasing times, dates, all of that soon. Just follow it on Facebook, all social medias, and globalghosthunt.com. But before we bring our guest out, what do you have to say? Because I know you're itching to say something.
Aren't you also running live on Babe Station?
On whose?
Babe Station, aren't you?
You're so stupid. This guy. Only, see, I always have to deal with this stuff. Anyway, on a better note, we have an amazing guest today. I'm so excited to bring her on. I wish her partner was here with us, but unfortunately it's just her right now because they're busy. It's all right, but she's in an amazing location right now where she is streaming live from. I am so excited to bring her on and share some of their live evidence right here on the podcast. It's just amazing. We listened to one in the background. This EVP that I just heard they heard it right out in the open audible, but I mean, it answers their question. You can hear the echo in the same room that they're in. I mean, it's fascinating. So stick with us. We're going to be playing it. But right now I want to bring out Kristy from Soul Sisters Paranormal.
Hey guys, how you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So as you just saw, I was telling everyone about this EVP. Mm-hmm. So I just want to first start off before I start asking you questions. I have to show this EVP because I'm just it blew me away. Like there's the echo in the voice,
Mm-hmm. Oh, Janet.
How are you, Janet? Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm Nando.
Hey, Nando. So everyone, check out this EVP I was talking about. We're going to start it off with this EVP. This is at Atlaco County Jail. That's where you are at right now, correct?
No, it's not.
No, I'm sorry. Okay, what place are you at right now? Because you said a jail.
Yeah, so I'm at the historic Scott County Jail in Huntsville, Tennessee. So this is a jail, that my business partner and I actually opened in the fall of 2021. So the evidence that you're going to show here in just a second, this was my twin sister and I. We make up Soul Sisters Paranormal, and we were investigating at the Attila County Jail, which is in Kosciuszko, Mississippi. And so it's just she and I inside the building, and the way this clip is, it's actually split screened. So Jenny and I are in one cell, and the voice recorder that picked up this response is about 4 cells down. So it's in a different cell, but you can actually hear the response.
And this is why I don't explain anything anymore, because I sound like an idiot when I have the person with me right here to explain it.
No, that's just all the time you find that way.
Thank you so much, Kristy, for explaining all that, because I was going to have to ask you that after this video, but I appreciate you that you came out right there with that.
Yeah.
So everyone check this out real quick. This is absolutely awesome.
Who's your best friend? Peter, your best friend? Who's your best friend? Peter, your best friend? Who's your best friend? Peter, your best friend?
That is that is crazy. I mean, that is so crazy. And like I said to you in the back, what is so crazy is you can hear the echo on his voice, and you can
Mhm.
tell it's male. You hear him say Pete, and then you guys actually heard this response, right?
We did. We did. So we actually thought it said Peter rather than Pete. We only really picked up Pete when we went back and analyzed the audio.
Mm,
So, like I said, we were about 4 cells down from where that voice recorder was, and we had been getting activity all night. Everything from footsteps to door slamming to different EVP responses. So it was a very active investigation for us, and that was just one of the interesting EVPs that we actually picked up from that investigation.
that is amazing. That is so cool. I mean, like I said, just when I heard the EVP and like just to hear the just the echo gets me. I don't know
Mhm.
what it is about the echo because it's like always when you hear an EVP on a recorder, it's I don't know. It just for some reason you catch great ones like this, and then
Mhm.
you get other ones that don't sound anything like this, and it kind of sounds almost like just recorded, But
Right.
this is like just authentic with that sound and the echo. I don't
Quite
know.
rare, though, isn't it?
What was that?
It's quite rare to hear one with your own ears. You can hear it on a recorder, but it's quite rare to hear it at the same time.
Yeah.
Every now and then, and some of the evidence that we'll share tonight that we captured, some of the other audio that I queued up for you guys, are EVPs that we actually heard in the moment. So we do. There's been instances where we do hear them in the moment, but to your point, a lot of what we put out in our videos are things that were captured on our static cameras that we did not hear in the moment. It was only going back and reviewing those audio and video footage pieces that we actually captured them.
Mm. Wow, that's so cool. I mean, it's so crazy because I don't remember myself hearing a lot of EVPs like on my investigations out in the, audible like that. I mean, I have, but
Mhm.
not as, prevalent like as what I just listened to. I mean, like I said, that'll go down in history for me because I love that EVP. That EVP is not my favorite, I have to say.
Well, wait, I've got some more coming up,
Oh,
so
I know,
we'll
I know.
play some more. So,
And I
uh,
haven't even checked any of
Excellent.
them out. So this is new for me to see too. So,
yeah,
but Chrissy, what I want to start off and say was, how did you get into the paranormal? That's one question we ask everybody. How did you? Were you in since a kid, or what happened?
well, my sisters and I, we come from a research-minded background. My family always encouraged us, our parents always encouraged us to question. And so we all have advanced degrees. And so we actually come at this from a research-minded perspective. And so when Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures and those popular television shows really started to become popular, we would watch them and really say to ourselves, why didn't they use this technique? Why didn't they ask this question? Why didn't they do this? And so we said to ourselves, if we ever had the opportunity to conduct a paranormal investigation, that we would jump at that chance. And so we were actually because we all live in different parts of the country, we were actually taking a girls' trip to Moundsville, West Virginia in 2013. And that's where the West Virginia State Penitentiary is located, which is reported to be one of the most haunted locations in the US. And so coincidentally, we had a family friend that sat on the board of that facility. And he said, while you're here, you stay in the weekend, why don't you take one of those nights and stay in the prison and see if you can connect with our resident spirits? So we absolutely jumped at that chance. So we took some voice recorders, we took a couple of digital cameras, we took a couple of night vision cameras, and we left that experience with what we felt was very compelling paranormal evidence or unexplained evidence. And so because of that, we really wanted to research this further to see if we could, one, really highlight these historic locations because not a lot of people knew some of these locations, and really bring that historical narrative to the forefront, and then couple that with any paranormal or unexplained evidence that we captured during those investigations. And so that investigation at West Virginia State Penn really catapulted us into where we are today.
Wow, that is
Excellent.
that is awesome. Yeah, I think it's so great. Like especially when we have teams on that are very, very scientific, very research, oriented, and I love seeing that because it's very important. People don't realize like how important it really is, but like everyone says in this field, you can't just jump at everything being paranormal all the time, and
Mhm.
it's unfortunate because you want to, you do, you get excited at certain moments. At least I know I definitely do. Even for that EVP, I'm still excited. I jumped around for you, when I heard it, but I think it's very important. I think it's so awesome that you guys do that. Go ahead, Robin. I'll let you ask.
No, just to say, you should hear Soul Sisters EVPs from the Exchange Hotel. They are next level,
Mhm.
Janet says.
Thank you, Jenna. Yeah. Do we have any on here that you sent us from there?
Honestly, because I sent them so long ago, I can't
Yeah.
remember which clips I sent
Okay.
you.
Oh, yeah.
I think we may have a couple in that group, but I'm honestly not sure. But thank you,
Excellent.
Janet,
Yeah.
for saying that. And to her point, we did capture some very interesting things from the Exchange Hotel. One of the things that's kind of interesting about Soul Sisters that is a little bit unique is that we're an all-female team. And so I think we come at things with a different empathy level. Now, I'm not going to say that we're empathic, but we come at things from a different empathy level, I think. And
I agree.
because of that, I think our investigation style lends it to getting different responses than an all male team or a co-ed team would get. And also being an all female team, it allows us to very quickly rule out certain things, right? So if I'm capturing a man's voice and I know that there's no men present on the property, I can very easily rule that out as something unexplainable. Same thing with a child's voice. Obviously, we have no children with us. So it allows us to very quickly rule out certain things as being environmental when I know that there's no children or no men on the property with us that night. And so for us, like I said, I think we do tend to get some different things. And the Exchange Hotel is one of those examples.
Yeah.
I
No,
do honestly believe, though, that sorry, AJ,
no.
that when you have women investigating as well, that if there is somewhere that you're doing it and there is children there, they're more than likely to talk to what they would look at as a mother figure rather than sometimes, just chatting to the likes of us when going. So I think it's more comforting for younger ones when there's females that are doing it.
I honestly do believe that. And I'm sorry not to interrupt, AJ. I honestly do believe that. And when we go to a location where we suspect that there may be child activity or spirit activity from a child, we try to get down on that level. So, for example, at the Exchange Hotel, there were reports of a child spirit by the child name of Jeremiah. And so we sat on the floor and we were rolling a ball back and forth. We had different toys as trigger items in an attempt to get a response from that child. And I think because of that, we did. And so to get down on that level with a child's spirit, to your point, I do think that females get a different response because we're a little less threatening. We never go in with bravado. We never go in with chest thumping or anything like that or provoking in any way. And I think it does add that sense of comfort, if you will.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the masculine nature or just us men in general, but we do have this different energy that, definitely children, even in the physical, can see and feel. And also too, like a lot of the souls that are children too have been stuck for many years. And back in their time, I'm sure their father didn't show them love. It was always their mother. So I'm sure that also helps a lot as well. But you're absolutely right. I feel that females do go in and they do have just a more empathetic energy, a more willing energy for spirits to come forward. Not only that, too, in a jail situation where you're in, like, say, a male county jail or something like that, that's very active too. They're more threatened by men because that's their environment. Not only will they lure because, oh, it's a woman, but also the fact is I think that you have more interaction with men because they can release certain, sides of that empathetic soul than what a man can probably do because, we do go in a lot of times acting arrogant and going provoking or doing something stupid, which you'll see on a lot of things, a lot of shows. And it's, it's sad because that's not really what you're supposed to do. You should go in with respect and love and everything. But I totally 100% agree with what you said.
Yeah. And to your point, I think jails and prisons are a little bit different also because women going in is more of a novelty. For example, when we investigated Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary, we've been there a couple of times. Obviously, that is a male dominated location, right? The inmates there, the jailers, the guards, all of those were predominantly male. And so to have a female team come in, to your point, it does make a different environment, right? A different energy level. And so I think that's another reason why we're so fortunate to capture things because we do come at it with a different perspective and mindset, I think.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. There's a more gentle aspect. That's why I'm glad in a way that I've got my mother-in-law on my team because it's a female that's there on your team with you. And we haven't really been, I'm not going to say fortunate because it's not the right word, but we haven't came across many children in our investigations. But if we do, I could nearly, leave her with a camera and leave her at that one point and say, right, you communicate. I've even got two little like toy cars in my bag
Mhm.
that you can put down. Move it on the floor, and I push it to you. You can push it back, and stuff like that. And it's better than going in there with 2 or 3 meals, and not even pushing the boundaries, but even the sight from them of an all meal team getting in there, it'd be like, I'm away kind of thing. Whereas there is that, is it a care side you call it,
Mhm.
probably, that comes off of female energy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, Kristy, what would you say out of all these locations that you've been to, and I know you guys have been through a lot, but what would you say gave you guys the most profound evidence in your opinion, or would it be a collection?
Honestly, when we go to these locations, really the historical perspective and the narrative that we get to experience is unique in all of the different locations, and so we capture different evidence at those locations as well. But honestly, for me, I would say the Ma Barker house in Central Florida. So this was the site of the 1935 shootout between Ma and Fred Barker, two members of the Barker Carpus gang and members of the FBI. So the Barker Carpus gang was the most prolific gang in the late 1920s, early 1930s, to the point where J. Edgar Hoover in 1934 was really given the directive to go and get these guys, go and get the Ma Barker gang. So in the fall of 1934, Ma and Fred Barker, they went to this little nondescript town in Central Florida called Ocklawaha, and they rented this house. From a guy by the name of Carson Bradford. And so in January of 1935, the FBI tracked him down to that location, and a gun battle ensued. It's still one of the longest gun battles in FBI history. And it culminated in Ma and Fred being killed in this rental house that they had rented. And so what's fascinating about this location is, one, after the shootout happened, the owners of the house had the presence of mind to preserve the house as it was during the shootout. So you go in there today and there's still bullet holes in the walls. There's still bullet holes in the furniture. So you can match up a rocking chair to the bullet hole in the wall and see where it came through. And so what's interesting about this is, in 2016, the family was going to sell the house and the land, and the new owners did not want the house. They were going to demolish it. So Marion County, Florida, purchased the house, and they put it on a barge and they floated it across Lake Weir to another location about 2 miles away. And so once they did that, it now sits on about 40 acres by itself, and there's no outside pollution, as I would call it, to this house. So there's no electricity to the house. There's no water to the house.
Yep.
It's really sitting there vacant. And so we were the first team allowed to go in and investigate this location. And now I know I've got complete control of this location, right? Because nobody can get to it. I have no power going to it, and I have no water going to it. So we investigated several times, but on this first investigation, I wanted to investigate on the anniversary of the shootout, which was January 16th. So the first stage of the investigation, we put a lot of stationary equipment in the house on the night of January 15th, and we let it run by itself. We let it run for the entire duration of when the shootout would have happened 83 years prior. And when we went in and reviewed that evidence, we were capturing things like door slamming. I'm sorry, I got a cat.
No, it's all good.
Um,
Our show, let me tell you.
so we were capturing things like footsteps. We were capturing disembodied voices. One of the most profound things that we captured that night was at about 5:30 in the morning, in the room where Ma and Fred were killed, we captured 2 EVPs. The first one said, "Freddie." The next one said, "Yeah, Ma." And the first one said, "Get ready," which I think is a residual communication, a residual EVP. So that was pretty interesting. And then about 2 weeks later, my sister and I went back and we stayed for about 8 hours in the house, and we were capturing things on the spirit box. We were capturing things on all of our equipment that night, from K2s to REM pods to all of the trigger items that we had. Were getting responses. And so for me, I think that's the most profound location, simply because I knew nothing else could act on these items, right?
Yeah.
There's no power to act on the REM pod. There's no power to act on the spirit box or any of our other equipment. And so for me, I would call that probably one of the most profound investigations, simply from that investigation standpoint.
So
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah, from a scientific standpoint, absolutely, because you have no variables that can jump in.
Hmm.
Whereas if you're in a location, there is normally electricity running in the building. I mean, you can't shut it off like we did when we went to Montana if they allow it, but
Hmm.
still you're going to have that. So you never really truly have that variable taken completely out. So to have that variable taken out and to know and then still get that activity, it's like it must blow your mind as a researcher. Like, oh my gosh, because it would blow my mind. So.
It really did, and it really solidified my hypothesis that the spirits of Ma and Fred stayed with the house, right? They didn't stay with the land because they had no connection to the land. They were nomadic in life, and so therefore, why not stay at that last location that you were alive? And so for me, it really kind of solidified the fact that the house was that the house had the activity, not so much the land.
Now, let me ask you a question on what you just said. You said a lot, like in a lot of investigators, we say that, they're either stuck to land or a house. But I want to ask you a question. Since you believe that they're obviously stuck to the house because the house obviously got, like you said, moved. I want to know, do you think that they're really like stuck at the house all the time? Or do you think that the soul just comes back for that duration of time for the traumatic timing or whatever that it was, like during that times and like say the night of every night or whatever? What do you think is actually going on from your research standpoint?
I think in this particular instance, I think Ma and Fred are with the house. And I think that they're comfortable there. For years, they had nobody to bother them because it really sat vacant.
Yeah.
Now, overall, generally, I do think that spirits or souls have the ability to move.
Mm.
But I think they're also staying where they're the most comfortable or they can get their story across, right?
Mm.
I don't think that Lizzie Borden's spirit is going to be at the corner 7-Eleven, right? There's no need for that spirit to be there. Lizzie Borden is going to be in her house where she's comfortable, where she's familiar, and where she's trying to get her story across. Because nobody at the 7-Eleven is going to be asking, "Hey, Lizzie Borden, did you do it?" So they're trying to get that story across. Same thing with here at the historic Scott County Jail. I do believe that there's inmates here or former inmates and former jailers who are trying to get their story across. And what better place to do that than the place where either you A, felt more comfortable, or B, your life ended tragically.
Absolutely.
So in
Now,
those that's why that's kind of my feeling on it.
now we
Yeah,
have a
wherever
video.
you felt comfortable, isn't it?
Mhm.
Now we have a video from the Ma Barker Spirit Box. I'm going to play that right
Okay,
now
yeah.
for everybody. You want to explain the video? I don't know. Do you remember? Or do you want to wait till after?
Yep, so I'll explain it real quick. So again, this is when Jenny and I were at the house and we were using a spirit box. And when Ma and Fred rented the house, they rented it under the name of the alias Blackburn. Fred gave the alias TC Blackburn. So that's who they rented the house under, that name. And so when we're asking questions and we say, can you get the name? Can you say the name Blackburn? We get that positive response. Also, you can hear two different voices in this spirit box session. And again, this house is on about 40 acres in a little town called Ocklawaha. There is really no radio interference at all during this time. And if you listen to it, if you listen to the responses, you can actually hear the stations changing behind those responses. So for me, this is one of the most compelling pieces of evidence with regard to spirit box communication.
All right, everybody, check this out.
Ma Barker, are you with us? Freddie? If you're with us, can you say the name Arizona? Can you say Blackburn? Thank you. What happened in this room? I thought you said we were the ones killed.
Wow.
Right.
That is
And
gone.
Yeah, and so I know there's a controversy about the spirit box. A lot of people subscribe to it, a lot of people don't. But for me, I do feel like it's a very interesting tool because one, because of that example of what we were hearing at that location, and also coupled with other things that we were also getting, the REM pod activity, the K2 activity, the different things that we were getting in conjunction with that spirit box. So, in my mind, they rented the house under the name Blackburn. We ask the spirit box, can you say the name Blackburn? And we hear it. There is the statistical likelihood of a radio station saying Blackburn when I ask the question, can you say the name Blackburn, is, I think, astronomical. Again, with some of the responses, Fred and Kate. Now, Ma Barker, her given name was Arizona Donnie Kate Clark. That was her name. That's why we asked, can you say the name Arizona? But she went by the name of Kate. And so we have the spirit box saying Kate, we have the spirit box saying Fred. And then when I asked what happened in this room, we got, they murdered us, we the ones dead. So from their perspective, the story is they murdered us. The FBI murdered us. So obviously, if you ask the FBI, that's a different story, but in their minds, they were murdered by the FBI. And so for me, it's a very compelling piece of information that we were able to glean from that spirit box.
Yeah, I mean, spirit boxes are like that. I I love them. A lot of people don't,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a couple of things about it. Like you said, you know, the chances of the words that you ask the questions coming through as the answers at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and especially some of them spirit boxes actually sweep backwards.
Yep.
So what's the chances of it actually saying, not only saying the words when you ask, but as it's scanning backwards? And as well, we've had the thing over here where you go into a location and you ask. I mean, AJ's had it as well. You ask for things and you get it and it says, off. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like words like that aren't allowed to be said on live radio.
Yep.
So again, you can't have,
Mm-hmm.
you say to people, will you explain to me how I've just been told that off?
Yep. You're absolutely right. And we've had those responses, right? We've had the B word said, we've had the F word said on the spirit box. And to your point, those aren't allowed over broadcast radio. And so again, for me, I truly enjoy the spirit box. I do think, when we go into these locations, like if we were just to get a spirit box response, that to me is cool. But if you get a spirit box response in conjunction with REM pod activity, in conjunction with K2 activity, in response to, EVPs that we're audibly hearing and audibly capturing, this is just building a very interesting case that we can't explain, right? This is unexplained evidence as to why all of these things are working in conjunction. And so, like I said, in this particular instance, we were getting those responses in conjunction with all of these other things. And so now my case is much stronger that something unexplained is going on in this location. And so that's really how we conduct all of our investigations. But if somebody were to ask me, which spirit box activity is the most compelling, this is what I show them.
Yeah.
So this to you guys one more time. Now that you've heard a little bit more of the background, and especially the more from a research background of how this is astronomical, I want to show this one more time to everybody. This is the Ma Barker Spirit Box from Soul Sisters.
Ma Barker, are you with us? Freddie? If you're with us, can you say the name Arizona? Can you say Blackburn? Thank you. What happened in this room? I thought you said we the ones killed.
That is absolutely awesome. And
Mhm.
it's having a back and forth conversation. When people say, we'll never have a phone to the dead, I kind of feel like we already do. And whatever frequencies that they're using to do this, and to whatever is this thought, block of thought that they're sending of energy that's manipulating these frequencies somehow to talk to us, it's absolutely amazing. And
There.
so many sessions for people around the world, for myself, where I've gotten so much amazing stuff that just can't be from a radio DJ. It can't be from anything because how fast it scans. And you know when something comes through because sometimes it'll even slow down almost,
Hmm.
and you'll hear the sentence clearly. Like
Hmm.
it's just so wild. But I want to move on from this because we have a lot more
Sure.
clips that I want to show. But you mentioned Lizzie Borden, Lizzie Borden House. How many
Mhm.
times have you been to Lizzie Borden House, and what are some of your experiences that you guys have had there?
We've only been once, and so again, it was a very interesting experience for us. So, for those who don't know, this was the site of the 1892 murders of Andrew and Abby Borden, and many suspected that the daughter Lizzie Borden was responsible for those murders. In a court of law, she was found not guilty, and so technically, it still remains an unsolved murder because she was found not guilty. Although a lot of people think that she was the person that committed the crime. So anyway, so when we went to investigate this location, there were five of us, all five females, and when we start an investigation, the very first thing that we always do is we turn on our voice recorders. Even when we're schlepping in equipment and luggage and all of that, we've got voice recorders going because, we feel that no matter what's going on, we want to have those ears everywhere in case we do pick up something. And so in this case, I'm very glad that we did. So we captured several interesting EVPs during the night. The first one was we were still getting luggage from the car. So Jenny and Cara were sitting in the parlor where Andrew Borden's body was found. And so they were just talking about the day. And then they started talking about the differences between the Villisca axe murder house, which we had investigated prior, and the Lizzie Borden house. And so during that talk, Cara makes mention of the fact, she says, either way, being axed to death would be a horrible way to die. And when she said that, the voice recorder picked up a man's voice saying it was. And so we've got an intelligent response now. They did not hear it in the moment. It wasn't until we went back and listened to the audio that we captured it. But we have this intelligent voice interjecting itself into their conversation and saying, yeah, it was a horrible way to die. So that was kind of interesting. We were capturing children's voices. We had several pieces of equipment that were picking up different energies at the time during the entire night. There was one instance where all five of us were in the upstairs bedroom where the maid, Bridget Sullivan, stayed. And so we're in there and the door is shut and we're conducting an EVP session. And my friend Miranda from Ghost Biker Explorations, she was joining us on this investigation. And so she had a K2 meter and she put it down on the ground. And as she's doing so, she says, here's another tool for you to play with. And in the hallway, a man's voice yells out, ignore them. And we all heard it to the point where Jenny whipped open the door to make sure that there was nobody standing out in the hallway. So we captured that on audio. We captured footsteps during the night. Again, disembodied voices. All of our equipment was indicating that something was acting on it. So for me, the Lizzie Borden house yielded some very interesting, unexplainable results.
I like it. We have an EVP from there. Now, was that the EVP that you just talked about? The one is because I meant to ask you that, but
I
that was
believe it is. Again, I can't remember the group I
no
sent
worries.
you.
Yeah,
We'll figure
hey,
that
no
out together.
worries.
We'll
No
figure it
worries.
out together.
We're going to show this EVP, and then if you want, obviously, you could tell us a little bit more about it if it wasn't the one that we just spoke about. But yeah, everyone, check this EVP out from the Lizzie Borden house.
This is our second axe murder house.
Right. Villisca, we had some good stuff.
That just seems like a horrible way to go.
Yeah.
This is our second axe murder house.
Right. Villisca, we had some good stuff.
That just seems like a horrible way to go.
Yeah.
This is our second axe murder house.
Right. Villisca, we had some good stuff.
That just seems like a horrible way to go.
Yeah.
This is the one you were talking about.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's so incredible. I mean, and this one now you guys obviously didn't hear, right?
No, we did not hear that in the moment. So like I said, we start those voice recorders the moment we cross the threshold. Everybody has one running and we just kind of dispersed and put them in different rooms. So like I said, you can hear us pulling in equipment, pulling in luggage, all of that stuff. If you were to listen straight through to the audio. So this was just a time where one of us had put one on the mantle in the room where Andrew Borden was killed. And we just happened to capture it. Like I said, Miranda and I were upstairs unpacking our luggage at this time. We weren't even actively investigating, but we just happened to capture this interjection between this conversation between Jenny and Cara.
Yeah, that was absolutely awesome. And you know what I was saying before about how some EVPs sound different,
Mhm.
and like different than the one Pete. And this was my example right here because this one was more of a whisper, like a,
Mhm.
whereas Pete was more of a vocal tone. And you could hear it like everything to it, which I mean, obviously the difference between Class A is, and Class C sometimes, all that kind of stuff. But still, I just find it so amazing, and especially I'm still hung up on the first one. I don't know why, but I'll never let that go.
It's a good
Probably.
one. It's a good one. Yeah,
It
let me tell
really
you.
is. I mean, I probably shouldn't have watched that one first, but that's all right. But I tell you what, Lizzie Borden was a crazy case. Our other host, our co-host, Todd, and his wife Marissa, they have gone and investigated multiple times at Lizzie Borden house and have had some crazy things. And there's stories that say that even Lizzie Borden might have been into the occult, certain things like that or whatever. And it's just a crazy story in general. And it must have been awesome to be able to investigate there.
It really was, and for me, like I said, the historical part of this is really what is fascinating to us. So, I've got to touch the doorknobs that Lizzie Borden touched and walked on the floors where Andrew and Abby were killed. And so for me, that is really the most important part of what we do. So yeah, we're capturing this really cool, unexplained evidence, but to really have that historical experience or that connection with the historical narrative of these locations is really what is so important for me personally. And then to kind of follow it out, most people just stop and say, yep, she was found innocent and it's still an unsolved case. But when you pull it out, she never left Fall River, right? She bought a house. She lived there until the day that she died. She was 67 when she died in 1927, and she never left. So for me, part of it is like, if you murdered these people, why wouldn't you just take your inheritance and run, right? So there's a lot of different aspects that when you really start delving into the story, the entire story of a historical location, to me, it's absolutely fascinating.
No, I totally agree with you. Jennifer White in the comments, she just said, so if Ma and Andrew said they murdered us, it wasn't Lizzie. And no, what I want to say that was she didn't. Yeah, it was two different EVPs, right? That was the first one where they said they murdered us. So that was a total different case. The Ma Barker case was completely different than the Lizzie Borden case, Jennifer. So that's why you might be getting them mixed up.
Right. Yeah. So the first one that I talked about, Jennifer, that was Ma Barker. That's the Ma Barker house in Central Florida. And they were murdered by the FBI. The Lizzie Borden house is to AJ's point, is a separate case. And that's where we got it was. So two different things.
No, please, Jennifer, don't be sorry. I do it all
Yeah,
the
no
time.
problem at all.
Yeah, don't be sorry. I'm the host and I do it. Come on.
Well, while we're on the subject of investigating places like that, I don't suppose, Kristy, that you've ever been to the Winchester Mystery House?
Not as a paranormal investigator. I've been as a tourist, but I did not go as a paranormal investigator. I was with a group of work folks in my previous life. But
I want to do that one.
it's an interesting place. I would love to go back as an investigator.
Yeah, I'd love to do that one. Love to.
So
She was so paranoid, wasn't she? Like,
right? Just strange.
She was crazy. Yeah. I mean, that house is amazing, though. It absolutely is. I've never been, but I tell you what, just from seeing it from on shows and stuff, that house, I don't even know how she could even came up with it.
Well, according to her, the voices in her head telling her to do it. So yeah, to relieve
I
her of
I don't think she was the one that was designing everything. I think she was basically telling the builders, because wasn't she always changing companies?
Yeah, so she basically said, "Don't never stop building." According to her, what she had, her thought process was, she can't stop building, and this is to apparently make amends for some of the killings that had happened due to the guns and all of that. So
if it wasn't spirits, right? That's the first thing. That's the first beautiful thing schizophrenia has ever created.
Yeah, we can spend a whole nother episode on that one. So.
Exactly. All right.
We'll just go and investigate. Why not? I'll just get a flight over. Don't worry about it.
One of the places that you guys investigated, there was another a team that got to investigate not the same place, but a similar type place. And it's been a place that I've always wanted to investigate. I've never had the chance to. A funeral home. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
Now, you were at the old Southern Funeral Home. We have an EVP video from it. I'm going to show it real quick, and then I'll let you explain it right after. So Everyone, I want you to check out this one from a funeral home. It's an EVP, and we're going to let Kristy explain it right after the video, and then I'll show it again. So here we go. Go ahead, Kristy. Tell us
Yes.
more
So
about.
this is the old Southern Funeral Home in Kosciuszko, Mississippi, and it was fascinating. It is a very active location, and so that night again, it was just Jenny and myself. Jenny is my twin sister, and so this was actually when we were setting up our equipment. We had left a night vision camera, obviously the voice recorder, and a laser grid, and so we had just finished setting up the equipment. And during the night, during investigations and stuff, I'm always saying, "Hey Jen, do this," or "Hey Jenny, do this," and that sort of thing. So the spirits obviously had known our names at that point. And during this investigation, for some reason, the entities in this location were enamored with Jenny. We were getting that audible EVP that was captured on that voice recorder as we were leaving the room. This was the second floor room that used to have all of the caskets. So when you go to pick out your casket for your family members, it was basically like the casket display room.
Yep.
So that was the room that we were in. And so we had done a spirit box session that night, and we said, "Can you say the name Jenny?" Jenny came through. We captured Jenny on several other voice recorders that night. So for some reason, Jenny, even though we're twins, Jenny was the talk of the investigation, because we captured that a lot. But the funeral home itself was an extremely active location. My best friend Miranda Young from Ghost Biker Explorations, she was actually one of the first to investigate, and I encourage you to go watch her episode on that location, the old Southern Funeral Home, because they actually had pictures coming off the wall during their investigation, and
Oh,
audible responses as well. So everybody who investigates that location seemed to have a very active investigation. Now the funeral home has resold this last year, so it is going to be opening back up as a funeral home, and like a legit funeral home. And so you can no longer investigate there, unfortunately. But for us, it was a great location.
wow, that's such an amazing location to be able to like just investigate. I mean,
Mhm.
like I said, I've always wanted to. There's a place where my family have been. We've brought my family to when they have passed multiple times that I've just always been drawn to that I want to go in. But I mentioned it when I was last in when my father passed, and the owner didn't really say no, but he also just kind of looked at me like, hey, yeah, that's cool, But I didn't push the issue. But
Mhm.
it's amazing that you guys got to investigate there, and it's so cool that you got what you did on this EVP, and also obviously through the spirit box saying your sister's name, because it's so relevant, because there's nobody else there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's somebody relevant. And for your friend from Ghost Biker Exploration to have pictures come off the wall, I feel bad for these new owners, to be honest. I feel really bad for them.
It, Yeah, I mean, if you talk to an owner of a funeral home or an employee of a funeral home, most of them have interesting stories to tell of
Oh yeah,
unexplained occurrences, even while the funeral home is in operation. And for me, I just think that you're in this location where the walls are witnessing such sorrow. You very rarely do you go into a funeral home and you're happy, right? Your experience, you experience a loss, the sorrow is there, and for me, it essentially permeates the walls. And I think that's why funeral homes are active, because it just sees and holds that not negative but depressing and just
yeah.
mournful type of an energy. And so I think that's why we were able to capture some interesting things there.
I want to ask you actually about what you just something about what you just said. You said about obviously blended into the walls, the energy and stuff that from that place. Do you think that the spirits that are there? Do you think that they're either crossing through with their body? Do you think it's just residual from the energy of what that place is, of people coming in and out, of bodies coming in and out? Do you think the souls, like I said, are passing, or do you think they're actually there, stuck in this building for some reason?
I think it's both. I think that there's residual energy in these locations, and one of the reasons why is for this instance, for this particular instance, when we went into the embalming room where they would embalm the bodies, there were drawers full of personal items,
Um,
dentures, glasses, watches, earrings, necklaces, shoes that were left over that none of the family members claimed. So I think you've got that connection that could draw or hold that energy or hold that spirit connection. And then really this was the last location where a spirit's physical body was kept, right? This is where it was last physically seen by their loved ones. And so again, I think that they just stay there for that connection, because that's where their bodies were last seen, were last mourned over, if you will. So I think it's a little bit of both. I think residual and obviously intelligent, because we're able to get that intelligent response.
Absolutely. I'm going to show that response once again. So everybody, for anyone who just tuned in, we're going to show this response again. This is from Old Southern Funeral Home. And the EVP you're going to hear is going to call out Kristy's twin sister, Jenny. So check this out. Wow. I love that. That
It was
is
a good
so
one.
great. Yeah, when you get your name coming through, it's, to some people it's scary, but I love it. I think it's so fascinating, because especially if you have a unique name too, like for like a last name, and they say the last name. Like I've even got my niece's name come through on a spirit box session through an app of all things.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and her name is Acadia.
Wow.
Acadia Sky is her middle name. So it's a very unique name. And we
Absolutely.
got her whole name, not just her first, middle, and last, but we got the full name. And we think it was my grandmother, because it was the first time that I actually allowed her to ask a question, because she was so like into doing it. So I was like, let me do it real quick and then get you out of here. But yeah, it came through and I was just shocked. I was very shocked. But I love when we get these EVPs. But next thing I want to jump into, we have a video on here that's very intriguing. It's going to switch off the EVP for a second, go to a shadow and SLS capture from Brushy. It's a Brushy excerpt. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've investigated Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary a couple of times. And in this particular instance, we were collaborating again with Ghost Biker from Ghost Biker Explorations. So there were 5 of us on this investigation, 3 Soul Sisters Paranormal investigators, Miranda from Ghost Biker, and Miranda's camera guy, Josh. So we had set up some trigger items inside the auditorium or the gymnasium of this facility. So Brushy Mountain is a huge complex, a former maximum security prison. And so we had set up some items inside the gymnasium, and we were back probably about, I'd say 15 or 20 feet. All the items were in the middle of the gymnasium, and we're kind of back in a semicircle. And so we're asking questions, and one of the things that's in the middle of the room is a REM pod. And so from my point of view, I'm standing on one end of the semicircle, and Miranda's on this other side with her camera guy, Josh, and she's holding an SLS camera. So from my point of view, I see something run in front of me, and it cuts off my line of sight to everything in the middle of the room. At the exact same time I see it, Miranda is picking up an anomaly on the SLS camera. So you hear me say, did anybody see it? At the same time, Miranda's getting this SLS camera footage. And so then her camera guy pans off of the SLS screen, off of the SLS screen and onto the objects in the middle of the room, and you see the shadow figure run back across. So it's a very interesting piece of footage, because you're seeing all this, and we actually captured the EVP of a man laughing as well. So that's kind of the setup.
So awesome. Hey, before we show this video clip, I just want to say, Robin, she got excited. She's smacking her microphone now.
I know, right?
That's hidden. I mean,
Let's start doing this. Look out,
Right.
guys.
All right, everybody.
Can't blame Mountain Spirit, that one.
Right. Well, everybody, what Kristy just said, we're going to show the video clip of the SLS in shadow right now. So everyone, check this out from the Soul Sisters Paranormal.
All right, this is the gymnasium, so let's play. Yep, lots of things to play with. You want to walk up to any one of these things?
Is there something in front of the REM pod?
I have something right in front of the REM pod.
Is there something in front of the right of the REM pod? Like a black shadow?
I just mapped something.
Did you
there.
see it?
Yes.
Holy shit. Did anybody else see a big black shadow?
There it is again.
Oh my god.
There it is again.
As we play this clip once more, we have zoomed in first on the SLS camera that Miranda was holding, and then on the REM pod, so that you can see the shadow that crosses in front.
You want to walk up to any one of these things? Is there something in front of the REM pod?
I mapped something right in front of the REM pod.
Is there something in front of the right of the REM pod? Like a black shadow?
I just mapped something.
Did you
there.
see it?
Yes.
Holy shit. Did anybody else see a big black shadow?
There it is again.
Oh my god.
There it is again.
So
Yeah.
sorry about the verbiage.
Oh no, please, you could swear on this show. I'm not one of those people. We can do whatever. No censor here. We're all adults. But anyway, what I wanted to ask you was the thing that she mapped in. Okay, it looked like it went over the body that was on the screen in the gray in the background. Now, is that anybody standing over there? Is that you? So
No.
what is the gray body? Is that still the spirit just not mapped in?
No, so what is originally on the camera of the SLS is our equipment in the middle of the room. So we have a glow-in-the-dark balloon, we have some REM pods, we have an EDI box. So all of that is there. And then, because she doesn't move it, so then something superimposes on top of that, i.e. the SLS camera alerts to something in the middle of the room. At the same
Okay.
time, I saw the shadow figure run in front of all of those items. So
No, yeah.
I physically saw this shadow thing run across at the same time, because you can hear me. Does anybody see it? At the same
Yeah.
time, she mapped it. And so when it runs back across, again, you can see there when we zoom in on that REM pod, it cuts off everybody's line of sight to that REM pod. It's a quick shadow that runs right in front of those lights on the REM pod and cuts it off. So
Yeah.
that's what she was originally seeing on the screen, and then something blips in front of it, which is what I
Yeah.
physically saw.
Yeah, I couldn't tell because at first when I saw the gray in the background, it kind of had a shape of a human almost. So I was
Mm.
thinking to myself, did the SLS map that looking like kind of like a human for just a quick second?
Mm-mm.
So that's why I was just wondering. I know that you saw what you saw because I saw the camera defocus too.
Yeah.
But I just was wondering if maybe that figure was the computer just read it wrong or something. I was just wondering as a researcher
Yeah,
coming
no,
up.
for me, it was because, like I said, she didn't move the camera at all. And so, I mean, if she was moving it around or something like that, then I could see it mapping something like that. But the fact that she's holding it still and it does it at the exact same time that I see something physical, to me, that's just two pieces of evidence, because I've saw it with my own eyes, and then to see
Yeah,
it run
yeah.
back across was actually pretty interesting because we all saw it at that point.
Absolutely. And the hardest part about showing evidence too is like, I mean, I believe because I'm a researcher and I've been in these situations, but a lot of people that aren't in these situations don't understand. And it's hard to portray our evidence when we're there and they're not,
Exactly.
so
Oh,
I
absolutely.
totally understand. But I had to ask you that quick question because as a researcher, I wouldn't
Mhm.
want to rule it out myself too, but I think that's absolutely awesome because I saw the defocus of the camera. I saw the quick thing that came, but it's so quickly, and that's the thing that people don't understand. It's super quick. Like when I first watched it, I'm thinking to myself, if you didn't have those replays, we would have had to watch it over and over,
Mhm.
because it would have been that quick. But that was a great capture, so that was awesome.
That
I
is
want.
one thing, though, that we as investigators are hitting our heads against a brick wall, isn't it? Really, a
Oh,
lot of the time, because just because people aren't there, they automatically assume, well, that's been set up. Well, that's been set up. Well, it's like, no, I'm not going. Me or AJ or you, Kristy, we're not going to travel what sometimes 50, 100, 200 miles
Mhm.
to just fake a load of evidence. What would be the point in that? I could just go next door and ask them if we could film for half an hour and fake the evidence there. You know
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I mean?
and you're absolutely right. And so when we put our evidence out there, there's two things. One, I'm not trying to get anybody to believe anything. I'm not trying to convince anybody that my view of the paranormal is the correct view. That's not what I'm doing. What we're doing is we're telling you a very cool historical narrative of these locations. We're telling you how we conducted our investigations, and we're putting out unexplainable things that at that moment I can't explain. But if we want to have this dialogue and you want to say, hey, I think it was this, it could have been this or that, then I want to have that dialogue so we can really hone in on what we think that was, right? But for me, in that moment, it was unexplainable. And another thing about what we do is none of our channels or any of our social media are monetized. And it's for that reason, right? I don't make any money off of this. There's nothing that I gain, to Robin's point, there's nothing that I gain other than the fact that I'm showing you a very cool historical location with some compelling evidence. And I do that for a very specific reason. We have not monetized for that reason, where somebody can say, you're doing this, you're manipulating these things to get views, to get money. That's not the case. So, again, for me, I'm very transparent as to there is no monetary gain for any of this. In fact, we pay out of pocket. Everything we do is self-funded.
Yeah.
There's no money here. And that's the reason why I do that.
Yeah, and I love
Well,
that.
we're all the same in that aspect because even if you were doing it for the viewers and for the money and stuff, YouTube these days are making it so hard to get monetized. It's like you need to be out. Personally, me, I think you need to be out every single day, and you need to have all the top-notch equipment, and you don't have when you just have what you have, and you just want to go where you want to go. You're doing it for your own benefit, but if it's going to benefit the public watching, then
And personally, I think that's where the difference between paranormal investigators, i.e. researchers, and YouTubers really differ, right?
Yeah.
And God bless YouTubers. If this is how they want to make money, if this is how they want to do it, that's fine. But their investigation style is much different than what we do, right? They go in, they're in there for 3 hours, they're filming a live stream or a broadcast, and then they're gone, right? They have no connection to the location. They have no connection to the history of the location. And again, that's fine if they want to do that. But for us, I think you guys are in this boat with me as well. We want the history of that location. We want to delve in further in that location because by doing so, we can provide tourist dollars to the preservation of these locations. We can give the narrative to those who aren't there and explain what it is and really help preserve that location. So I think there's definitely a difference. And for me, I really draw that line between a paranormal investigator / researcher and a YouTuber.
I think that's very important. Very, very important. Yeah.
absolutely.
And it's the only thing that I have no problem either with any of it. I think there's enthusiasts, obviously, and then there's researchers. The only thing that I can't stand that I see all the time is a lot of YouTubers that will come out and then be like, I'm a paranormal researcher, I'm a paranormal investigator, and the thing that gets me a little upset about that is then they're the same ones who are faking the stuff and only doing it so that they can get the subscribers become viral and famous. And I don't care. Anybody can make their money any way that they want. But what I've been seeing a lot online is these people claiming to be mediums or claiming to be these ability type persons. And they're charging people. Like I just saw a lady the other day who does a lot of tarot readings on YouTube. She's charging $250 for a paranormal consultation to see if they have to remove a spirit and $280 if it's demonic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's wild. And I see people giving paranormal classes with these equipment saying, oh, well, you're going to get the best equipment hands-on, da, da, da. But these people have to go out and buy that equipment. And by the time they get the money to do so, they're not going to remember what you probably taught them. So why were they going to come and pay $300? So I get a little upset when I see things like that and people using this field because people like us who really fund our own things and stuff, we're not trying to make anyone believe, like you said, we're just trying to show like, listen, something's going on.
Yep.
And this needs to be studied, like truthfully, because this may not, who cares if it's our soul or whatever, right? Just say if it's not, say it's just interdimensional beings. That in itself is mind blowing.
Absolutely.
Why not? So I totally agree with what you're saying. And I love that you guys do the way you guys do. I think that's so awesome.
Well, thank you.
One thing I want to move to right now is there's 2 places on here that you guys went to that I can't wait to talk about. So first one I want to talk about is the USS NC. You guys were on the ship. How was that to investigate? Like, tell us some of your experiences. Tell us what it was like.
Right. So this was the USS North Carolina in Wilmington. And again, just the historical significance of this location was just mind blowing. So this was a ship that was built in 1937. It was in operation during World War II. In fact, the Germans thought that they had sunk it 6 times. That's how fierce this battleship was. They reported that they had sunk it 6 times when in fact they did not. So in 1961, it was turned into a museum, so people can go and visit it, but they allow paranormal investigators to spend the night. And so on this investigation, it was just Jenny and myself, and we captured, again, some very compelling things that I can't explain. The clip that you're going to share here Jenny and I were walking into the medical bay of the ship, and during the night, as we were walking around the walkways, you go through all the hatchways and stuff. They're kind of narrow, and so we would be bumping our toes or our elbows or whatever. And at one point, we're walking into the medical ward, and I say, do you want to sit in here for a minute and do an EVP session? And you hear a man's voice saying, "Just watch your elbows, or just watch your arms." I believe he said, "Just watch your arms." And again, we didn't hear it in the moment, but yet it's an intelligent response to what I'm saying, and it's saying, "Hey, heads up, watch your elbows." Right. So to me, this is a very interesting piece of evidence.
Now, before I show this evidence, one thing I want to ask as a researcher to a researcher: do you think that when a spirit is giving these EVPs and these EVPs are being recorded, do you think in the space that they're in, that this this recorder is picking up them vocally speaking, even though they don't have a mouth like we do and no vocal tones? Or do you think that this energy is imprinting itself, interacting with the environment? What do you think? And just, I mean, your own opinion.
Well, in my mind, I do think that the entity, the spirit, is there, and it is interacting. It's trying to interact with us. In this particular case, I couldn't hear it in the moment. I only heard it when we went back and watched the evidence or watched the footage that we captured. That's an interesting question. I've never really been asked that before, but in my mind, I see the entity sitting there, looking at us, trying to interact with us. Answering the questions that we're asking it. Sometimes audible responses, sometimes not. But it's enough energy to your point, imprint on our recording systems.
See, I like that. That one fascinating thing. The reason why I wanted to ask is I always want to ask researchers, like, how do you think they're communicating with us? One thing that I always see in my mind, and I've had sessions where they've said this to me, is that it's like how they send mediums. It's like a block of thought, an energy, a block of thought that they send to us. Whereas in mediums cases, they've said through our spirit box that they send this block of thought. The brain, as a filter, deciphers the block of thought through the experience of their consciousness in this world and what they've, their environmental, whatever they grew up with. And then they have to obviously decipher the name or their response or whatever answer that the medium needs to get. Don't know how true all that is, but came through the spirit box. I was like, I'll take it. My question is, like, when I see EVPs and stuff, I'm thinking to myself, if that was the case, and we're obviously all energy, we know this, energy cannot be created nor destroyed or all that stuff. And
Exactly.
so I just wonder, I wonder if these entities are here and they're actually to answering our questions or putting them on these devices, like even spirit boxes, manipulating those frequencies. I wonder if that energy they're basically sending it out. And like, I always ask this because when we see have you guys ever witnessed on your spirit box, like an anomaly going into the spirit box before answer or even after an answer? Have you ever seen anything go in? Because I've seen that happen a couple times on ours.
Honestly, no.
Okay.
There's a lot of times, like when the spirit box session that we had with the Ma Barker house, I don't have a light on that.
I didn't know the video camera, the night vision. I didn't know.
Yeah, I don't film with a night vision camera. I do have
Okay.
stationary night vision cameras that we have
Oh,
up. So honestly, I have not personally witnessed that on any of our spirit box sessions, but I do know other people that have. And to your
Yeah.
point, the energy going in and actually manipulating those frequencies and those sound waves.
Yeah, I just wonder, I always wonder if that's how they talk, because we don't have a way, like a vocal tone, and we always hear these, like even the audible ones, like it's just like, how do they produce that? Is this energy manifesting into our physical world and vibrating at such a vibration that it's creating something in our physical space? I mean,
There is also a stone tape theory, though, in there.
well, that's for residual energy, yes, the stone tape theory. But
Mhm.
wait, not before I get in this whole scientific adventure and asking more crazy questions. Let's show this EVP from the USS North Carolina real quick.
Okay.
Just give a real summary because I talk too much about what we're about to see real quick.
It's Jenny and I walking into the medical ward of the USS North Carolina.
Awesome. Here we go.
Do you want to sit in here a minute more? Or?
Yeah.
We can put the FLIR out. Do you want to sit in here a minute more? Or?
Yeah.
We can put the FLIR out. Do you want to sit in here a minute more?
Yeah.
You can put the FLIR out.
That is awesome.
Mhm.
Now that's not just awesome because it's an EVP and I'm just a paranormal freak, but that's awesome because that isn't like the Lizzie Borden one that we heard that was a whisper. It was in the middle between where that the one we first heard at Atla County Jail. But I tell you what, just the you could hear the vocal tone and everything in what he's saying. Just watch your arm, and it's relevant to what you're saying. It's like he's watching out for you, and it's like
Yep.
you're not saying really anything else to you guys. Did you guys catch any other EVPs in that moment being in there by chance?
Not in that moment, but during the investigation, the entire investigation. Oh yeah. So we were capturing EVPs, we were capturing footsteps.
How about in the medical bay?
Yeah. So we
Oh,
have I think we have two more on our video. I think we have two more from that from that location. It was a very active location.
same vocal tone though in those EVPs
Mhm.
as this person? Oh,
Yep.
so that's awesome. See, that
Yep.
even shows more evidence, more
Mhm.
validation because when you can connect those two vocal tones and those things, it's like that's a personality. That's a human in your eyes. You know what I mean? Because to me it would be.
Yeah,
That is
absolutely.
cool.
Yeah, so again, that to me was a great capture because to your point, we've got a male's voice because you can actually hear I had said what I'd said, and then you can hear Jenny actually talking. So you know it's not her. And obviously it's not me because I had just finished my sentence. And I'm not a male. So it's intelligent, it's a male voice. You can almost kind of if you listen to it a couple times, you can almost hear a little bit of an accent.
Yeah.
So for me, again, it's a really compelling piece of unexplained evidence. I cannot explain because obviously there's no men with us there. I can't explain how that EVP is occurring. So it's kind of cool.
Everyone who just pulled in, check this out. EVP from the USS North Carolina. Kristy and her twin sister Jenny, only ones in this whole ship. This is what they catch in the medical bay. Check out their full video on YouTube. Check this out.
Do you want to sit in here a minute more?
Yeah.
You can put the FLIR out. Do you want to sit in here a minute more?
Yeah.
You can put the FLIR out. Do you want to sit in here a minute more?
Yeah.
You can put the FLIR out.
Incredible. I mean, what I see in my mind's eye is just a white collar guy working in the medical bay, a soldier, and just watch your arm, guys.
Yep.
Like
That's it. Exactly.
not even caring that you're in there, just doing his duty or whatever he's doing. I just find that so awesome. So,
Yep.
um,
Just watch your arm.
I wish I was able to get my browser working before I had you on because I would have been like, nope, we're getting the whole video. That's it.
Yeah, I'm actually really proud of that one. If you go to our website and you watch that video, because the history of this ship is just so phenomenal, and how it came to be a museum, and the group of people that made the decision to we have to save this ship. This is something that is important to American history. It's important to North Carolina history, and we've got to save this ship. And so the entire story behind the military service of this ship, and then how they got it out of the scrapyard. I love it so much. So if you guys want to know the true history of the USS North Carolina, please go watch our video.
Please, and real quick, tell them where your website, everything, so that they could do that.
Yep. So www.soulsistersparanormal.com. We're also active on Facebook under Soul Sisters Paranormal, and our YouTube channel is under Soul Sisters Paranormal.
SoulSistersParanormal.com. I'm going to put that right up on the screen right
Cool.
now.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much again for coming. This is so much fun. I hope that you don't mind staying a little longer.
No, I love this. I can do
Okay,
this all day.
great. Awesome. I love it. next one I want to talk about real quick is you have one in here named Grand Old Lady. Now, is that the Grand Old Opera? Is that what that is, or what is this place? Because it has me really intrigued.
Okay, so this is the Grand Old Lady Hotel. This is in Balsam, North Carolina. So this was built in the early 1900s as part of the railroad system that went through the mountains at Balsam Pass. And so when it was originally built, it's this 3-story, very opulent hotel, hardwood floors, grand staircases, about 100 guest rooms, large ballroom, large eating area with glass windows and all of that. So it's a beautiful hotel, and it was really a stopover for the railroad where these people would get off and they would vacation for several weeks and then get back on the railroad and continue on. So then during the Depression and moving into like the 1940s and 50s, it started to go into decline. There were instances where it was abandoned and then try to revitalize and then abandoned again. So the current owner, she allows paranormal investigators to go in and investigate this location. And so when we investigated there, we actually had the entire hotel to ourselves for an entire weekend. So we got there on a Friday and we left on a Sunday afternoon. And again, this was a collaboration with Miranda Young from Ghost Biker Explorations. So she investigated on Friday night and Jenny and I investigated on Saturday night, even though we stayed in the hotel, all three of us. The main focus on Friday night was Miranda and Ghost Biker. And then Saturday night was Jenny and myself with Soul Sisters. And so the clip that we're going to show you, this was on Saturday night. And like I said, they have about 100 guest rooms, but one guest room in particular is supposed to be reported to be the most haunted. And it's on the 3rd floor and it's adjacent to this hallway called Henry's Hallway. And the way the room is set up, it's one big suite, but it has 2 rooms. So there's an interior room that has 2 queen beds where Jenny and I were. And then there's an exterior room with a full-size bed where Miranda was. Now, the one that Miranda was in, it had the only door to the suite. So you would go in and go to the 2 rooms, or you can go out into the hallway. So the door exited into the hallway. And so what we did is we had a night vision video camera on the inside of the door. So you see Miranda in bed and the door. And then we had a night vision video camera on the other side of the door in the hallway. So now I've got complete control of this environment, right? I know that there's nobody else on the property when this event occurs. So we said goodnight. You could hear us. I mean, in the full video, you can hear us say goodnight. And about 15 minutes later, we captured this EVP on the outside of the door. So this entity is in the hallway.
Awesome. Grand Old Lady Hotel. This is by the Soul Sisters. Check this video out.
Did y'all hear that?
Yep.
What did that sound like?
Sounds like a man's voice.
That's what I thought.
What is so crazy about this, Kristy, is right after he says, please don't go, not only can you hear the sadness and the pain in that person's voice, which is that vocal tone, just everything about that EVP. You heard it live. Not only that, right after he said it, you see a little light anomaly, because I don't think that was dust, to be honest. I really don't, nor a bug. And because nothing else ever comes into frame. And you see it right after he says it, it like goes away and into the bed. Which that's what I'm talking about. I'm wondering if that right there is whatever it is that's going into the microphone or going near and using that energy to kind of communicate with us. Because I just want to show this again. That was such an amazing EVP. And for you guys to hear it live, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions after. But guys, check it out again.
Did y'all hear that?
Yep.
What did that sound like?
Sounds like a man's voice.
That's what I thought.
Wow.
Yeah, so to me, that's a really cool EVP for a couple of reasons. One, Miranda has nerves of steel. I mean, she didn't even move in that bed.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Jenny and I are in that interior room, and it's kind of the same thing. It's one of those where, you know, we all heard this. It was loud. We all heard it in the moment, and you're waiting for the next thing to happen. Is something else going to happen? Is he going to come through the door? Are we going to hear another EVP? So it was a really great investigation overall. But that one right there, to your point, there is some sadness in there, and it's interesting because about 20 minutes before we captured this, because this is Saturday. Well, it's actually about 4 a.m. on Sunday morning.
Mm.
And we're talking about when we're going to leave, right? You know, we're going to pack up. What time do we want to get up? What time do we want to set the alarms for? You know, we'll get everything down in the car. We're going to wake up around 10 or whatever. Just talking about leaving. And so to capture this voice that says, please don't go, it's intelligent, right? And to your point, it's sad. It doesn't want us to go. We've just spent an entire weekend getting some great evidence from this location. And I think the fact that one, we're all three females there, that we were, empathetic to what they're going through and all of that. I think it was a very, a plea. Don't go, don't leave us
Were you talking about leaving in a different room, or were you talking about leaving in that exact room?
in that room. So, like I said,
So,
if you
the only
go ahead.
reason I don't want to cut you off, but the only reason why I want to ask that, because I want to finish. Hold on one sec. Is I find that so awesome because you guys were talking about it, and then all of a sudden that EVP came through, validating what you guys are speaking about.
Mhm.
But like I said, that vocal tone and the way that it sounds so sad that you guys are leaving. Like, like please come, because as a lot of people gone in there and communicated with them. Sorry, that's really my
Yeah,
question.
so it's a very active location. And during the night, if you go and watch our video on it, again, I think it's a really cool video because there were numerous things that were happening during the night. Like, for example, we were down in the kitchen, and so let me just backtrack. We investigated during the off season, so they only are open as a hotel for a certain amount of time during the year, and then they close. So there's nobody there, right? And so we were down in the kitchen, and I said something to the effect of, can you just show us that you're here? Can you manipulate something to let us know that you're here? And the coffee pot turns on. So this is 1:30 in the morning. There's no reason why the coffee pot should turn on at this moment. So we captured that. There was another instance where we're up in one of the guest rooms, and we have an EDI box sitting on one of the dressers, and we're all kind of sitting back on the bed, and Miranda has that SLS camera. And so we see the SLS camera start to map a figure. And so the way I'm filming, you can see the SLS camera and the EDI box behind it and physically see the box. And so we said, can you touch the box that's on the dresser? And you see the anomaly on the SLS camera reach out, and you see the EDI box start to illuminate. So again, another really cool piece of evidence, because we've got two things validating that something is in the room with us. But to go back to this EVP, we were all in that room kind of sitting around. We were all kind of sitting on Miranda's bed, just talking about, when we pack up, because Miranda was going to go to another location. Jenny and I were going to go home. So basically, what time do we want to set the alarms for? Do we want to get breakfast in the morning, before we leave? All of the, the normal leaving and investigation questions and conversation.
Yeah.
And so then to lay down and about 15 minutes later, get the please don't go, a very cool experience for us.
And not only that, but that light anomaly you were talking about, AJ, was actually seen a couple of times in that clip.
Oh, really?
I actually seen it going away from the bed as well.
Oh, wow. I didn't see that. I only saw when it came back into frame, coming down to the bottom left of the screen. That was just really cool, though.
It came down towards the bed, and then a little bit later, it circled round at the bottom of the bed, and then you seen it actually leaving the bed.
It does. And now I'll just say up front, for us, we particularly don't point out light anomalies or orbs, if you will, just because there's so many different things that can explain it, right? Yeah. So I just, for each video, I don't want to go into, this could be a bug, this could be all of this. And so for us, I don't particularly put a lot of energy, my energy, behind orbs. And that's just me personally. I don't, because there's so many different things that can explain it.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm the same as far as orbs go, but sometimes you'll see like light anomalies and you can't actually debunk them.
No, absolutely. I mean, we captured one at Tala or Trans-Allegheny that I can't explain. In this dark hallway, this beam of light just shoots up and then comes back down, and I can't explain that. So we do point out stuff like that, but everybody has their feelings on orbs and anomalies and stuff. So on this particular instance, we did not obviously highlight those.
Yeah. No, definitely. I totally agree. Totally agree. Before we get to Post Town, the last one on here, there was one I might have passed, and I think it's from the Brushy
Mhm.
State Penitentiary, like you said. Or, so it says Brushy Rocks.
Yeah. So this was the first time that Jenny and I investigated Brushy. So it was just she and I on this investigation. And when we do our investigations, we set up stationary cameras in as many of locations as we can. So we actually have 12 stationary cameras. So we'll set them up all over the location, so we can have eyes and ears on everything, even though we're not physically in, say, this cell block. And so we had set up this camera in one of the cell blocks. And during the night, for about 3 hours, these rocks start pelting our camera. There's nobody else in this building, and we're on a completely different side. We're on the completely different side of the complex, and so rocks just start pelting this camera. I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know what's causing it, but I mean it's with force.
Mm.
So this is what that clip looks like.
Wow. I tell
Yeah.
you what, to have rocks and stuff being thrown at your camera and like nobody's around there. And you can even hear in some of the, like before you cut some of the clips when the rocks were going to come, you
Mhm.
can hear right after the rock's thrown, like some like noise or something. And it doesn't sound like you guys at all. It sounds something weird, but you can't make it out, but you know something's there.
Mhm.
I'll tell
Yeah.
you something else about that. Sorry,
No,
Christy,
no.
before you say anything, is that you'll have people saying that, well, it's an old building, it could be bits of masonry that are falling from the ceiling. But if you watch that clip closely, they're coming in from all angles. They're coming from straight in front of you, they're coming from the side. Yes, there is a few coming from the top down, but a lot of them are coming straight into the camera, and that wouldn't be masonry.
No, and you're absolutely right. That's the point I was going to make. Especially when it first starts. I mean, there's a clump of like three things that come straight out,
Yeah.
perpendicular to the camera, just boom. And there are some that fall from the top, but a lot of them are coming in from the sides. Which, if all of them were falling down, then I would have thought, to your point, just kind of masonry or whatever, just the decay of the building or whatever. But
Yeah.
this lasted for about it didn't happen right away because these cameras ran for I think 9 hours. It didn't happen right away. It started about 3 or 4 hours in. It lasted for a few hours and then it stopped. And it didn't happen again. And so that was just a montage of some of the things. Go on. That was just a montage of some of the things that we captured. And like I said, to me, it was fascinating because you have these things facing and throwing at our camera.
The kitty cat's looking to become viral. That's what it
She
is.
already is. That's Sally, our jail cat.
There
She
you
already
go.
is.
Selly the jail cat. I like the name. That's
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
But to what you said, yeah, no, that was an amazing clip to have that happen. I've never had that happen to me personally,
Mhm.
something like that physically being thrown. So that is awesome to see and to have captured. One question I want to ask is somebody who you guys obviously edit your stuff, you guys obviously film your own, all that kind of stuff. My question to you is how bad does it suck to review 9 hours of a stationary camera when you're not in front of it?
Oh yeah, yeah. So, and it's not just that. I've got 10 of them. So,
Oh,
yeah. So, and we watch and listen to it all. So, if I've got 10 voice recorders running for 10 hours, I'm listening to 100 hours of audio, and watching all of the footage as well. But for me, it's worth it, right? You find that one EVP, or you capture a light anomaly that you can't explain, and it's like the adrenaline starts pumping, and here we go again, because now I've got something unexplainable. So it's absolutely worth it. It does take a lot of time, but and so for us, it usually takes a couple of months between when we actually do an investigation to when we release a video. But I absolutely love it. It's one of those things that it's the process, and I really enjoy it.
I tell you, I give a lot of credit to some of these TV shows that have to produce and get out an episode within a week. I don't care if you think they're real or they're not. Some of them, just the matter of that they actually do edit some of their own stuff, like Ghost Adventures. They edit all their own stuff. They do all their own work. I can't imagine coming back and having investigation all week long, and then got to have that episode there by Thursday, all done, and make sure nothing's messed up or nothing. I mean, like I said, whether you fake that footage or you don't fake that footage, whatever you believe in Ghost Adventures, it doesn't matter. The fact is, you have to edit that, and that sucks.
It does. It does take a
Yeah.
while. That and the research and everything else that goes with it.
Total worth it, though. Total worth it, because every time I get something, it pumps me up, and it makes making the video worth it. Totally. But before we're coming up near the end, but before we do, we have one last EVP I want to show, and I would like to bring you back on, Kristy, hopefully with your sister as well.
Yeah.
To actually dive into you guys more, because I mean, this is just such awesome evidence. I was gonna get into it. I'm like, you know what? We could be here for 5 hours because we love talking paranormal. But Post Town, talk a little bit about Post Town. What is it? Because I actually don't really understand Post Town at the moment until you probably say the full name. But
Yep.
please tell us.
So Post Town is in Post Town, Ohio. It's actually an elementary school. It was built in 1937, and it was in operation up until the 2000s. And then it sat vacant, and the current owners, they bought it as a paranormal location to allow paranormal investigators to go in. He actually lives on site as well. So not really a lot of stories regarding death or tragedy in the building itself, but the interesting thing about the building is that it sits on the site of two train accidents that happened before the building was built. So one in 1891 and then one in 1910. And there were multiple casualties during those train wrecks. And so then they built the building on this location. There's also been flooding in Post Town where the building was used as a triage center. So you do have that connection as well. So a lot of different things surrounding the building, not so much in the building. However, it is a very interesting place. We investigated again with Miranda from Ghost Biker, as well as Sarah Jane from Paranormally Blonde. So this was a three-part collaboration with Soul Sisters and then Paranormally Blonde and Ghost Biker. So there were 4 of us in this building for the night. We actually slept there. So we actually got the building for a few days. And so the clip that I'm going to show you is kind of interesting because on the second floor, they have one of the larger classrooms set up as a doll room. And now dolls to me are just creepy, but
Yeah.
in this room, they've got probably 1,000 dolls that
Soulless creatures.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
in that room, we had a voice recorder. And so it's just sitting there stationary by itself. And then during the night, we had all gone downstairs, and you see us coming up the stairs during one of the investigations that were going up. And as we're going up the stairs, we did not hear this in the moment, but at the same time we're going up the stairs, the voice recorder in the doll room captures this EVP. So what I did was I split screened it so you could see the room, that there's nobody in the room, and you can see all of us going up the stairs. So you know it's none of us doing the talking. So this is what the EVP sounds like.
Well, everyone, this is from Post Town Elementary. This is from the Soul Sisters. Check them out. www.soulsistersparanormal.com for more video, more evidence. But check this EVP out. Wow, that is awesome. One question I'm going to ask you about that is, Now that the room on the right is where the recorder is, correct?
Correct. So
Okay.
what I wanted to do is, so what I wanted to do was show a split screen
Yeah.
of this is the voice recorder picking up this EVP, and here we are. So none of us are in that room. So the room is I'm not really good with estimating, but it's probably 60 or 70 feet down the hallway. So the stairs are in the middle of the building. So if you see a picture of the building, the stairs are right in the middle. And then all of the classrooms go down the side. And so the classroom that had the voice recorder was the very last classroom at the end of that hallway. So again, you know that it's not one of us because all four of us are there on the stairwell.
Yeah. And also too, it sounds like a female voice, and it's asking who'd she come with.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There.
When you're talking, they know that you're female,
Mhm.
and they're asking, well, who did this lady come with? We hear her, or even if we see her, but you can hear the echo on that voice too. So that's why I was asking, did that EVP come from that room and not from you guys? Because your voices obviously have that echo in that hallway in the stairwell. But what's so weird is to hear the echo on the recorder from
Yep.
their voice. Like that is just so realistic. You would think that was right next to you. Like at least I would, from you guys talking. Guys, watch this again. This is totally awesome. Is absolutely awesome. And like I said,
Quite a clever response, really, because
yeah,
one of the people with you there says, "I can't see her," and then the thing says, like, it's like, well, who did she come with? It's like it's as if it's trying to help you find someone.
Yeah, so Sarah Jane, as we're going up, Sarah Jane there from Paranormal Blonde, she was in the lead, and so she was just kind of tongue in cheek. She said, "I'm coming up the stairs. Don't scare me." As we get to the top of the stairs, that sort of thing. And so again, Robin, to your point, it's like, who'd she come with? Who'd she come with? And again, to me, it's very intelligent. To your point, AJ says that she knows it's a she talking, and it's just one of those things that is very compelling to me.
You know, it's so crazy because when I talk to people, even skeptics, I never obviously try to make them believe or anything like that. I just show them evidence. But whether somebody believes in uh, fairy tale stuff, or they believe in historical stuff, or whatever they believe in, scientific stuff, it doesn't matter. The point of the matter is right now is that is a human vocal tone and a human voice. It's intelligent, and it's understanding its surroundings. And not only that, there's more than one of them, and you can't see these. So what is going on? Is this our solar energy, and are we staying here, or is this something more? Whether you want to look at it in an angel and demon kind of way, you want to look at it in a Buddha or Allah way, it doesn't matter to me at this point. What matters to me is that this is incredible, because people in different
Undeniable.
people are in different countries are getting in their language answers too.
Mhm.
And there's people like there's devices and even apps now that are made with banks that have Spanish or other vocal tones, and these entities are manipulating the devices and creating the words in the English or in the other languages wherever this person is doing this. And I find that so amazing, and it shocks me, because this type of evidence, I'm like, why isn't the scientific community looking more into this? Because that recorder was nowhere near you guys. You guys are all accounted for. There's nobody that could have whispered that. And who in the hell is this person talking to?
Right.
They know you before you're in the room that it's being recorded in, which is even scarier, in my opinion. If you think about it. So, I mean, tell me, what did you guys think of all this?
Well, for me, I think going back to the scientific portion of it's because it is paranormal, right? That's the very nature of the term paranormal. It's something that is outside the realm of accepted science, right? They can't put it into a hole or a theory or a hypothesis and really test those things. But because to your point, it's all different. And that's why when people talk about different paranormal teams and paranormal drama and all of that, that to me is so crazy or interesting at the same time, because I can investigate Post Town, right? You can investigate Post Town. We can do the exact same experiments during our investigations, and you will never get the same evidence that I got. And I will never get the same evidence that you got. It is completely unique to my investigation. Now, you may get an EVP, you may get a light anomaly, same thing as I, but the circumstances behind that are completely different. At no point in time will Sarah Jane, Miranda Young, Jenny and Kristy Sumner be walking up those stairs when AJ is, you know what I'm saying? So that is a very unique situation, that one point in time where we're walking up those stairs and we got that piece of evidence. It's completely different. And for you, it will be completely different. And so for people to quibble over, oh, this and that to me is so foreign in my thinking, because there's no reason to do that. And I think that scientists, because they can't replicate that, right? They can't send 4 people up those stairs in Post Town and get the same result. I think that's the reason why science wants to stay away from this, because they can't replicate those results. If I drop a pin, I know that gravity is going to pull it down. I can do it every single time, right? But for an anomaly like this, like a EVP or a light anomaly or a shadow figure, you can't replicate it, right? It's not something that will occur every time. And I think that's why normal traditional science will stay away from it. But to your point, I think if people start looking at the paranormal investigators who are out there doing this, that are trying to do it with scientific methods, trying to do it with, these research tools, and getting interesting results, I think if we delve more further into that, I think we can get some really interesting answers.
I think so too, and I think that it's up to us researchers to get our own scientific evidence like you guys are doing, because you're right, science isn't going to look at this because they can't replicate the experiment over and over and have a valid thing happen every single time. But that's what makes, to me, this even more fascinating, because
Absolutely.
This experience has everything that we would say this has to be a human or some intelligence like us, because one, it has our vocal tone, it has our voices, and two, it has the intelligence, like I just said, to know what you were doing. And not only that, you said something a second ago, and I just slipped my mind. I was just thinking about it. Of course, I'm not going to be able to remember it now because I'm live on air.
We'll come back.
Yeah, I'll come back to it. But the point of what I was trying to say is that there's a lot of human things a lot of aspects to this that you could say this entity kind of resembles us. And that's why I think we think a lot of the soul and stuff like that, because I remember what you said now. You said, anytime we go in, like, you'll have different evidence than Robin will have. I'll have different evidence than all 2 of you. And what's funny is, for us humans, every day is different. So for every investigation is different, which makes it even more into kind of like a human aspect to us, thinking like this could be the soul. But like I said, who cares whatever it is? The point of the matter is that you guys are recording something that is phenomenal, and this needs to be understood. And why can't they do it all the time? You know what I mean? And these are such questions that will never get answers probably, but such crazy to start thinking about and getting into the theory and hypothesis of all of it,
Not only that, but you might find that if there's a story to be told about that location, that Kristy might go there and get part of it. Then you might go, AJ, and get another part, and I might go and get another part, and we piece it all together. You might have either the full story or 3/4 of the full story there that you could, piecing it. This is why I'm always a champion for people working together in this field, and it doesn't happen. People don't want to work together because they want to be exclusive. There's there's an aspect of this where it's like, I want to do a location before you. I want to get better evidence than you do. I want to get this. It's like, no, it doesn't really matter whether you catch a figure and I don't. You might catch the figure. I might catch the EVP. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we work together and put all the information together. That's where the bigger picture comes out. It's just a pity that a lot of people don't see it that way.
Well, you're absolutely right. And then where's the measure of essentially goodness of a capture, right? Why would somebody say, well, it was from the Lizzie Borden house isn't as great as the who she came with from Post Town, right? Who's forming that level? And to your point, Robin, it's one of those things where if we can work together and get that story right, for example, the Ma Barker, when they said they murdered us, we the ones dead, that is their story. That is what they perceived happened to them, and that's what they wanted to tell me. But you could go into that house and get something, that adds further into that story, like we had this many guns, or these are the guns we used, or something else to really add to that. And so I do think that I love collaborating with other teams like Ghost Biker, like Paranormally Blonde, and some of the other teams that we've collaborated with. I love it for that very reason. I learn different techniques. We learn different things that we can use. We were investigating the old hospital on College Hill 2 weekends ago, and we used tools that I had learned from Reflections of the Paranormal, right? I saw a technique that she used. I loved it. I wanted to try it in that location as well. So we need to learn from each other. We need to work together and learn from each other. And I think that's just going to make the field grow.
I think
Definitely.
so too. I think the ego in the field needs to leave for sure. And, anyone who's in for the wrong reasons, stay in a different category, because it's like the more we work together, like even just doing this podcast, like I say all the time on this show, just having different people on like yourself, other teams, other researchers, different style of researchers, different levels of researchers. It doesn't matter to me. Someone who's only been a researcher for 2 months, I can learn something from, in my opinion. You take what you can get from what you can learn, and what not, you kick the rest away. And I think it's very important for us to put that ego down and to really look at this as this is more important. This evidence, what's going on, is so much more important. Victor, how are you? Thank you for tuning in. But Kristy, we are at 1 hour and 40, and I do want to end this, but there's so many questions I have to ask, and so much more. So before you leave, I would like to schedule you again to come on. If you don't mind just sitting in the back real quick, so we can get you to come back on. Because if I could, I'd like to get your sister on too, and have some more evidence and talk about you guys and do some more. But thank you so much for this.
Absolutely. And thank you both. And thank you to everybody in the chat room for hanging with us and putting in your questions and your comments and stuff. It's, the reason why we do this is to make friends and to get some comments like that. So thank you everybody who took the time to watch today.
Guys, we're going to take a quick 5 minutes to show each little clip that she sent us today over one more time for everybody, because it's that awesome. So before we go and say goodbye to everyone, we just want to show you these clips real quick.
Who's your best friend? Peter, your best friend? Who's your best friend? Peter, your best friend? Who's your best friend? Peter, your best friend?
Do you want to sit in here a minute more? Yeah. We can put the FLIR out. Do you want to sit in here a minute more? Yeah. We can put the FLIR out. Do you want to sit in here a minute more? Yeah. We can put the FLIR out. Ma Barker, are you with us? Freddie? If you're with us, can you say the name Arizona? Can you say Blackburn? Thank you. What happened in this room?
thought you said we the ones.
Guys, thank you guys so much for checking today's episode out. Kristy again, Soul
Absolutely.
Sisters Paranormal. Thank you again so much. Today was awesome.
Thank you
Yep.
both. Y'all have a great day.
Wait,
No
before
problem.
you go, Kristy, please again shout out your stuff so everybody can go check out your paranormal group and all your videos.
Yep. So our website is www.soulsistersparanormal.com. Also, we're all active on Facebook under Soul Sisters Paranormal, as well as YouTube under Soul Sisters Paranormal.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for staying with us, and I appreciate you for your subscription. Thank you so much. It means so much.
Thank
And
you to
Alan,
everybody who commented as well.
yes, thank you everyone who commented, everyone who's came in and watched. If you guys would like to see all of the clips again, like I said, you can check out all of our social medias. You can also head over to Talking with the Source on any of your podcast listening services that you'd like, from Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of them, and listen to the episode if you're on the go. But Kristy, again, thank you. Please stay in the back. We're going to schedule you again, and we're just going to say goodbye. So we appreciate you.
Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Wow, man. This was an awesome show. I mean,
Yeah.
the episode that we showed was so much fun, and so cool. It excites you to get back going again. You know what I mean? It excites you to be in the field. It excites you to get out in the field and do stuff. And it's so great to have, people like this come on and teams like this come on. I mean, what do you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, I've had a few things lately that have been spurring me to come on, and it's people like that are passionate about it. You know what I mean? It's like you want to get out there and you want to get evidence, and you want people to see your evidence, but you want the evidence shown to the wider community and the scientific community, really, because they're the ones that need to take it more seriously, really.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And hopefully this field will get there. The more that everybody gets into it, the more that more researchers like Kristy and her sister, and Ghost Biker and Paranormally Blonde, all them just getting together and showing the unity in the field and showing that it doesn't matter about our egos. It matters about what's going on, what the evidence is. If you truly care about this field and figuring anything out that's actually going on. If not, that's cool. But if you are like us and you want to do that, get with people, get with like-minded people. Grow yourself, and in the end, it will only help your team grow in the end. So, I think it's
absolutely. Don't just watch like one or two people. Watch a good selection of people. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Watch Soul Sisters. Watch Huntophobia. Watch Matt Barron. Watch Soul Sisters. Watch you. Watch me. Watch. Portal to the Paranormal. We could go through them all, the ones that we're all associated with, but even beyond that, there's ones yet that we haven't, that we haven't actually met yet, and there's other ones out there that we haven't even seen yet, we haven't heard of yet, that will be getting the evidence and will be coming on the show whenever we can. Yeah. It's getting that selection of people that you can trust with it.
Absolutely. And that's like life. It's hard, but I think it'll happen if you have the right mind, and you stick with it. So it's the only thing we can offer is just to tell people to get with the right people like we have, and, grow your guys together. And it's more about growth for everyone. So, but we appreciate everyone who watched today. Thank you guys for sticking around for another episode of Talking with the Source. Today was absolutely awesome. Can't thank Kristy enough and Soul Sisters Paranormal enough. We have their link again on the bottom of this ticker. It says www.soulsistersparanormal.com. Head over there for all the evidence, their videos, all the stuff that they're doing. Absolutely amazing. A great research team. But until next time, if you guys that are listening on the podcast listening services, if you want to see something scary right now, check out this video and check out Robin's new hair color, because that shit is scary.
And on that subject, I'm gonna go because I was in the middle of cleaning out my closet.
Oh, Jesus, right there with the Eminem quote. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
There.